Thank you so much for staying tuned. And I'm not even expecting to get to hear from us on today's edition of International Forum. I am Wilson Marshall. Well, it's all about Venezuela. That country has seen a lot, been through a lot, and right now it's at the verge of total fiasco. Two governments, parallel government, and we have a legitimate government in place, one backed by the police, so to speak, of the world, while others are backed by many Southern American countries. The country is turned, divided, shattered, debased economically. Is this the beginning of the end of the Hugo Chavez dream of Venezuela? Is this really the beginning of the end of Hugo Chavez's successor, Nicolas Maduro? When we return, we're going to throw more light on this. Before that, let's go to various news making the rounds globally. Let's move straight down to the U.S. Yes, 35 days and counting, the longest shutdown in the U.S., and now it has cost the government of the United States of America $3 billion due to the partial shutdown. It was Trump that got angry, shut the government because the House refused to accept his budget to build the wall of Mexico. Not the wall of Jericho now, the wall of Mexico. At the onset, he said the Mexican president or government will pay. And now, he wants the U.S. citizens, taxpayers' money to fund the war. And Democrats in the House says, no, it will not happen. And that was really led to the impasse. And right now, 25 days past a shutdown, the longest in U.S. history. No wall of Mexico has been built. Instead, the U.S. is bleeding money profusely, $3 billion, compared to the amount he wanted them to just use to build a wall. Who is gaining? Who is losing? Let's see how this will be resolved. But whenever a country shuts down government, the economy will definitely suffer. Now let's move straight down to Brexit. Theresa May is at it again, trying to convince members of parliament to share her visions, her dreams. It's like this woman is getting more and more gray hair due to the pressure. And now they're talking about the back spot, so to speak. Yeah. And of course, preparedness of them to leave, to really stay with the rules and regulations, bordering on security. And don't forget also about the Scottish agreement, the Ireland agreement. You just name it. Those loopholes are trying to look into to make sure that this Brexit favors UK. But it's like the House isn't playing ball. They've been deliberating. Talk today, talk tomorrow, deal, no deal. It's like the woman is even getting tired, but she's still persisting that this can work, this can happen. But as a parliament, do they have the same dream with her? What are they seeing that we are not seeing? Well, I'm thinking that this is going to be a walk in the park, but right now Theresa May is really sweating it out. They're not giving her respite because you really need to cross the T's and dot the I's to make sure that Brexit happening isn't going to hurt the UK. That's why they are there, deliberating. Would they go for another referendum? We don't know if it's going to happen. You'll be the first to know because our duty is to report back to you. Now let's get straight down to Brazil, where modern nature, would I call it modern nature or the mistake of man? Was it man-made? A dam ruptured and hundreds of persons lost their lives. 60 confirmed dead, hundreds missing, 100 injured. The mud from the dam covered some houses and, of course, a restaurant. And the government is trying to salvage the situation by going deep down there to dig through muds to bring out bodies if they can, to salvage properties. And some persons have been fingered. They are saying that for the Vail Dam disaster, some executive will be punished for this. Because according to them, it's a pure case of negligence. Right now, nobody's wanting to cut corners. Nobody wants to give anyone a kind of a tap or a pat on the wrist. Is going to be total punishment, because we're talking about destruction of lives and properties. Where were they? Were they given enough notice, or they just neglected the dam for quite a while, for a long time? You know, if dams are built, regular checkup to check the integrity of the wall and all that. It wasn't done in this case. And guess what? Water, flood, mud, submerged, destroyed so many things in that region of Brazil. In this case, who do you think will be culpable? Who do you think will be punished? Is it going to be what happened to Dilma Rousseff, or someone will go to jail for days due to the loss of lives and property? And our heart really goes out to these people. They never saw it coming. They didn't see it coming. It just happened. But I like saying that this is as a result of negligence occasioned by the fault of some group of persons that refuse to do their jobs diligently. Anyway, we'll return after this break. We'll go straight down to Venezuela, which is going to form the crux of our discourse on today's edition of International Forum. Venezuela is boiling. Two governments, Maduro versus Guaido. Who do you think will come out tops? We'll be right back after this break. It's all about Venezuela crisis. We have parallel government in Venezuela, a clog in Maduro's administration. With me here in the studio to throw more light on this, I have a legal practitioner, a political analyst. Join me. Welcome, Osazua Osahon. Welcome to the show. Appreciate your comment.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and of course, pleasure. He's a lover of our late Hugo Chavez. But I don't know if that same love extends to Nicolas Maduro. Anyway, you get to hear from him. I'm sitting very close to him. He's a one-time chairman of a local government, one time also deputy chairman, and he is a legal practitioner, a politician, an entrepreneur, an agriculturalist. When we talk about local and international politics, he is well grounded. Join me, welcome, Honorable Desmond Ubo. Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much.
Here we are. We were like thinking that when Maduro made some changes in Venezuela, is going to ease tension in that country. He said the house that is in vogue isn't working in tune with the government of the day, so he chose to form his own house, backed by his loyalists. And on 23rd of January, Juan Guaido came out to say he is the president of the assembly, hence the president of Venezuela. And immediately Donald Trump tweeted, and of course the vice president also tweeted congratulating Juan Guaido for becoming the president of Venezuela. And trust Maduro, he isn't finding this funny. Gentlemen, how did they get to this spot that they are in today? Let me start off from you, Osahon. What do you feel about this?
Thank you very much. Venezuela is a classic case of man's inability to manage the God-given resources. A classic case of ineptitude, of refusal to do the right thing or to make the necessary changes when change becomes not only necessary but inevitable. Venezuela is a classic case of leadership failure, a failure to realize that a system that is not working needs to be changed. That it worked in the past does not guarantee that it will continue to work now nor in the future. It's a classic example of a system failure when leadership refuse to acclimatize to the present realities, or to a refusal to understand, to tune into modern trends, that the time for change has come. Let's do this in a different way than we have been doing before. So when you see this doggedness, this failure, holding tenaciously to the past because it worked before, it doesn't guarantee it will work now. So it is a sad thing that is happening today, that a nation so blessed, a nation so endowed, a nation that God has given everything possible to move forward is where they are today. A nation which some few years ago was the richest nation in South America is now one of the poorest nations in the world. It is quite saddening. It is quite, it is something that hitherto was unthinkable, but that it has happened should remind everybody that it can also happen anywhere else in the world. That the countries as rich as Venezuela could be scrapping for means. The children today, they are beggars. You see them scavenging for little breaks. It is quite bad, and I'm shamed. Shamed for Nicolas Maduro. Shamed for his failure. Shamed for his refusal to change. It is very shameful.
Okay, you heard him. He said it's very shameful. The man you saw raising his hand is Juan Guaido, the one that said he's the president right now of Venezuela, the ruling parallel government, one backed by the US, and others are for Nicolas Maduro chaos. Everywhere you can see it in the video we are showing in course of this discourse. Honorable, here we are. From what he said, this is due to mismanagement. That is how they got to where they are today. Would you want to agree?
Mismanagement is an understatement when it comes to assessing the impact of Nicolas Maduro's government. It all started when the predecessor,
Hugo
Chavez, died around April in the year 2013. Perhaps that period, Nicolas Maduro was the vice president or the deputy chairman of that United Socialist Party of Venezuela. And one thought, having been there as a minister of foreign affairs before he became the vice chairman, he would have learned a lot of things that would take the country to the next level. A citizen must be bothered about what level are you going to. Is it the negative level or the positive level? One cannot deduce the fact that from all that has happened, following the change of the currency from the strong Bolivar to a sovereign Bolivar, that is their currency, the name of their currency, to a currency that perhaps has grounded the economy, has reduced their living standard to a barest minimum, and people are now very, very, very much in poverty as a result of the economic policy of Nicolas Maduro. Let us look at the build-up to the election. You know, one must begin to look at what culminated in the leader of the legislative arm assuming the position of the acting president, which I'm sure doesn't have much practical powers. But he has a lot of support from the United States of America, from other countries that border the Venezuela, as it were. But let us look at the historical antecedent of this country. How do we get here? When Maduro took over, formally as an acting or interim head of interim government following the death of Hugo Chavez, yes, election was conducted within that period, and he got a 6-year term for the first time. And when there was this need to conduct another election for a re-election, possibly, we now begin to see dilly-dallying on the part of the National Electoral Commission of Venezuela. You know, when there is an election year like that, the National Electoral Commission is coming out with unrealistic dates and programs prior to the election. One begin to feel and assume that the election might be rigged. Let us not be far away from the truth that even the United States of America, the EU, the other body has warned Venezuela and indeed Maduro that the way and manner the Electoral Commission, the electoral umpire is going about with the election is showing or depicting a lot of unfairness, and the processes are not followed appropriately. All these are pointed to the fact that the build-up to the election that threw up Maduro re-election were fraught with all forms of irregularities. Hence, the United States of America is coming out to say, no, the processes, that is the main cross of the matter, that the processes that led to your re-election were fraught with all forms of irregularity. Mind you that the opposition were shot behind the scene in the build-up to the election. A lot of people were arraigned, were arrested, some were driven away from the country for one or two reasons, all with a view to having it a free day for him when the election come properly. And the election, as it were, about 46% in terms of turnout. It is the highest numbers of low turnout in democratic process of the Venezuela. Now we saw that the man Maduro has put various machineries in place that will shut out opposition and to make sure they prepare a way for him to come back again. In the face of this, there are super inflation, there are increments of value-added tax from 4% to about 16%, and the currency that will lift 5-digit zeros to the normal, at least the highest currency, the higher currency they have now is now 500 bolivar.
Okay.
Even to exchange this money to dollars, you find it very difficult. You have to approach or pass through the government approved bureau de change before you can get a dollar. All these boil down to the hardship people are now experiencing today. As I speak with you, over 3 million Venezuelans has crossed over to either United States of America, either to Colombia, either to Chile, either to Peru.
Just to escape the hardship?
Yes, the hardship.
Okay. All right.
There is serious hardship in the land. And for the leader of the legislative arm to not assume the position of an acting president, citing the relevant constitution, particularly section 233 and 333 of Venezuela.
We'll come to that.
Is something that we must talk about.
All right, we'll come to that. Section 233 and 333 of the Constitution. We'll come to that. But before all this, Maduro cried out, saying, "Look, U.S. is directly involved in what is happening in Venezuela negatively." He accused the U.S. of interfering. He accused the U.S. of wanting him out as president. And with what happened, do you think that this man is right in what he's been saying all along? That the U.S. is directly responsible for what is going on right now in that country.
Again, thank you very much. It is a given under international politics that the strong will always take what it wants, and the weak must always heed what it must. Having said that, I would say that Maduro is just lamenting. When you know that you have strong enemies very close to you there, like United States, when you know that there are so many persons who want you to fail, when you know that you cannot afford to fail, when you know that you have to put your hearts together in order to put your enemies to shame, so to speak, then it becomes necessary. It becomes your lifeblood, your ransom, dear child, the reason for your living to succeed. Because so many persons are there just wanting you to go down. And they are doing all they can, not just wanting you to go down, they are actively conniving with enemies within. You have strong enemies with that. Now you also have strong enemies within, actively conniving with them to ensure that you fail. I would have thought that Maduro should have done better. that Maduro should have known long ago that he needed to do something drastic politically to bring the opposition to the discussion table, to do so many things to enhance the life of the average Venezuelan. For me, apart from the political issue that they have, apart from the electoral issue, everything happening today in Venezuela has to do mainly with the economy. Mainly with the economy. The average, I was watching a documentary yesterday on CNN when there was this stronghold, this Chavista stronghold. People who really believe in Hugo Chavez and the glorious thing he did for them. They were not interviewing them. And there was a man that spoke, and he said the truth, that yes, it's a Chavismo, that he loved what Hugo Chavez did for them, that they benefited heavily. But now, he finds it difficult to feed his family. He finds it difficult to eat himself, not to talk less of taking his children to school. So he's being faced with real existential problems that whatever your political inclination, your political philosophy no longer counts, as long as the man is on. He just wants food on his table. And Maduro failed to realize that the time has come to put food on the table of the average Venezuelan. That failure for me is a betrayal of every left-leaning intellectuals in the world, of which I see myself as one. He should have done what was necessary. And what was necessary at that time is to broaden the economy, is to ensure that there was a massive influx of foreign investment, to make government, to open up the government, to bring the opposition into the government, and to make certain concessions that would have, at the end of the day, amounted to making the average Venezuelan a better person, a more prosperous person. It is shameful when you over 11% of the world oil deposit is under your soil and you are still suffering. You can't meet basic human wants. There are no explanations for that. No matter how powerful your enemies are, no matter the circumstances which you find yourself, no matter to what abysmal level the price of oil has fallen. No, these excuses, they cannot, and they are not good enough. That is my fault with Maduro. That is my fault that he couldn't harness the resources that he have. If it is a country, let's say Central African Republic, without anything that is going through this, maybe I will understand. If it's a nation, maybe like Sudan or South Sudan that is going to, maybe I will understand. Not a country massively endowed like Venezuela, and you're not pointing fingers that you have enemies that the United States wanted. Of course they want you to fail. They have always wanted you to fail. So why did you yield to them? Why did you make it possible for you not to fail, in spite of what they are doing? So these are some of the issues that I do have with Maduro.
Wow. All right. The blame is on Maduro. It's like, blame it on the man that is in trouble. Take a look at what Juan did. Juan Guaido, the president right now of the assembly, though not recognized in Venezuela. Can one liken that to treason? There is a president. You declare yourself also as a president in one country, despite the backup or support by the US of A.
When you see a dove dancing, there's always something that is playing the drum beneath the earth crust. That Juan Guaido has come out to say, I am the acting president. It happens in a day when they were marking the anniversary of the 1958 uprising that led to the ouster, the overthrow of a military dictatorship. It was a day cleverly set aside, at least to give Maduro an uneasy camp. One, Maduro has done certain things that the citizen no longer take as being the panacea to the problem bedeviling the general country. You cannot expect to use an old man to right the wrongs of a new problem. The problem will still remains. His mentor, Maduro's mentor, was Hugo Chavez. Hugo Chavez was once involved in a coup d'etat before he was even voted in as a democratically elected president. For crying out loud, Maduro is the 46th president of the United States of Venezuela, with about 26 states altogether. It was formerly a republic.
Yeah.
Now let us look at where did the Venezuela got it wrong. The National Electoral Commission, following the 1999 constitution written under Hugo Chavez, gave them the power to conduct election. And that NEC have been conducting election. And the election they conduct, there is no much improvement on it. Yes, they have been using these automated machines, like the card reader we have in our crime Nigeria. But do you know the last election that was conducted? How did it happen? What led to this man assuming the position of an acting president? When election supposedly was scheduled for December 2018, the NEC scheduled the election for April. It took the intervention of the legislative arm to now, because they have a unicameral system of legislation,
Yeah.
they now argue and legislate that the election should be conducted around May this year, April to be precise. But the electoral umpire agreed to hold the election in December and later came back to March. And it was later now shifted to May. So the inconsistency in the date, and even the program, you know, there must be timelines as to when to conduct primaries, when to campaign, when to submit a candidate, when to change candidate, when such exercise should elapse, and when and how to conduct the election properly. There were this wide margin as to those that boycotted the election. From all indication, it was only Falcon and Bertuzzi that participated. And all these people, if you put their vote together, it was not even up to 25%. Whereas we were told, and we understand from all indications, that 46% of the total numbers of the eligible voters, which amount to about 31.6 million, were able to cast their vote. And that one is a far cry from what is obtained by law. But let us not go into legal technicalities, but let us assume that the head of legislature has also fed up as long as the citizens are fed up. But the way and manner they are going about it, I don't know the correlationship with his action and that of the law of Venezuela. But from conventional climb and reasoning, it is a pointer to the fact that Maduro is not doing sufficiently in line with the rule of law. Well, because what is important in any administration is adhering strictly to the rules of law. The land, which is the rule of law.
All right.
Any deviation from it, you see people, based on the advent of social media, the other medium through which you can know your rights and exercise it appropriately. People are beginning to know that what Maduro is doing is not in line with the rule of law.
No.
And the man, Guaido, who has assumed the position of the acting president, as we speak today, now two presidents is
in Venezuela.
Is in Venezuela. One is being recognized by the US, by the EU, another body who, by virtue of the organization they belong to, oversees the affair of states, countries of the world, to avoid degenerating into a civil war. Which will affect their economy. But let me point out here, right now, that when they got their independence in 1830. Venezuela got their independence in 1830. It was from the Spanish. They were colonized by Spanish.
Okay.
And when they got their independence, it was the United States of America that was the second state after Brazil that recognized them as a sovereign national state. So that is where their interest is coming
from. Okay, fine. Now I'll come back to you now. He talked about the rule of law. See, he pinned it on the election that brought back Nicolas Maduro for contempt. From what he said, he didn't follow the constitution because of reports of irregularities. What Juan Guaido did, is it being backed up by the constitution, or is still another illegal government trying to usurp the powers of the president?
Thank you, Winston. I will attempt to answer you. If I'm deferring, just call me back. But let me quickly say this, because my colleague raised the issue of the rule of law, raised the issue of the constitutionality of the Maduro's government, that Maduro has gone overboard, that he has become despotic, that the elections that brought him has been flawed. I didn't want to go into the elections or due to political issues. But we must understand, because there are so many things I can stand, but one thing those who know me that I cannot stand is hypocrisy. And for some reason, I have seen that the Western, there is nothing associating, there is nothing as how do I put it, something that stinks more than Western hypocrisy. You see the United States running to recognize Juan Guaido's government. You think they like democracy. You think they should be the bulwark, the defender of democracy. That Maduro is going overboard and is doing things which ordinarily he shouldn't do. Therefore, Trump has the moral rectitude to go against him. Then, just cast your mind back some few weeks ago. You see a certain Secretary of State, Pompeo, going around the Middle East, obnobbing with no dictators, people who have been there for a long time, people who have opened this day for democracy and everything that democracy stands for. People who you see him obnobbing with Sisi. When I will know what happened in Egypt when Mohammed Morsi went to the polls and the all Egyptians riding around him and he got a massive vote, and because the United States, because the West didn't like the fact that somebody coming from the Muslim Brotherhood can go to the polls and get the vote. What did they do to him? They drove Sisi from there. You see what happened, or what's happened in Syria, because they didn't like the
people who voted against
Assad, because they don't like the fate of Assad. So is this hypocrisy that gets me very uncomfortable? So if they want to do something, let them say, yes, it's our own interest we are pursuing. Not say it's not doing the right thing, it's not following democracy, issues of human rights. When you are obnobbing and drinking with people, someone went into a consulate. We know what happened to Khashoggi. He was openly murdered, he was beaten, his body was dismembered, put in bags by a known tyrant. And what did Trump say about it? Because he has got business dealing with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, nothing. It was okay. He didn't even raise his voice or condemn him in any light because he had his own interest there. So, but when it comes to Maduro, because he's left-leaning, because of his socialist leaning, it's not comfortable, and it's not comfortable with that. And that, my friends, is the fact. So we must understand what is happening, the real issues at stake, so that when somebody is pretending to love democracy, to love human rights, you must understand that what he is saying, and he said that if democracy suits him at that material time, he will love democracy. But if it doesn't suit him, if there are other interests, monetary interests, because the West, they always genuflect before the god of materialism. If they have other interests that have to do with money, monetary issues, and that will suit their economy, they don't care much about democracy. They don't care much about human rights, and we have always known this. So that is the fact. Now let's answer your question. Talking about what Juan Guaido did.
Is it legal?
We must understand that what he did was very, very wrong. It is something, if not because Maduro has been has been very careful. Today, Venezuela will be on fire. It's so easy to start a war. That's what so many persons don't know. The West, they will prod you into issues. They will prod you into war, and you start killing yourself, and they start selling their weapons. That's just it. And in case of Venezuela, because they have oil, they can afford to just give us oil, and we'll give you any weapon you like. Go kill yourself. That's just that. So that is what is happening today. That they prodded Juan Guaido to do what he did. That declare yourself, make yourself the president, we are behind you. But I thank God for China. I thank God for Russia. And these people have come out to say, no, things are not done this way. We must respect that each country is sovereign. The sovereignty of each nation cannot be negotiated. We do not, under international law, it is forbidden to interfere into the internal workings of any nation. If they have issue, they should come together. That's why I blame Maduro. Effusively, I blame on this platform to say that he had ample opportunities to make things work, to enlarge the government, to make things better. Are you getting it? And he failed to do that. He failed to whip the engines of government to provide for the average Venezuelan. He failed to recognize that the Venezuelan people are his own constituencies and that he must do all he can for them. Okay. So that's my take on that. But what Juan Guaido did is not right and can never be right.
All right, what he did is not right and can never be right. You can get to see him raising his hand, taking oath of office as the president of the assembly, and he said that he's seeking for executive power. And of course, Nicolas Maduro is talking tough. Nicolas Maduro responded. He gave a 72-hour ultimatum for all U.S. diplomats to leave Venezuela. Do you think that will backfire? Or is it the right move?
That is not. The problem is right with him at all. Adding salt upon injury will not work out the magic for him. He ought not to go to that extent because it's not Venezuela capital. It's not located in the United States of America. It's like when Nigerians are saying that one presidential candidate didn't go to America, are they going to elect him there? Are they going to vote for him there? What is the influence of those people there? When your own is okay, that is when people will come and join you to say your own is okay. I think what Maduro has done is to complicate the diplomatic relationship he has with the United States of America. I know full well that the U.S. have come out to say, yes, they recognize the acting presidency of Juan Guaido. It's as a result of their conviction by their envoy that the processes that led to the emergence or the re-election of Maduro were not properly conducted. It was marred with all forms of irregularities. What the United States, from this point of view, is after is that the processes that brought you on board, the manner at which it is free, fair, and at least is acceptable, will go a long way to determine your output when you are on board. Now, recently we saw the EU, the USA, and the UK also condemning some aspect of our present-day government, especially the one that borders on the suspension of honore and the rest of them. Whereas these foreign diplomats are also following the trend because they are mindful of a free, fair, and transparent election. They have gone far ahead in terms of election conduct in their climb. So once that is done properly and in accordance with the enabling law in our country, then we'll begin to have a sane and a government that has the interest of the people at heart. And once things is beginning to run in accordance with due process, rule of law, everybody will know his or her own right. And once that is established, we'll begin to move to the next level. What is the next level now? Of you and I knowing our own rights and privileges. in this case, Maduro knew how a lot of opposition leaders were barred. Opposition candidates were barred from conducting an election with trumped charges that borders on corruption from all kinds of criminal allegations and all that, with a view to just burying them. They won't partake in the election. These are certain, he has one political party that form a coalition with him, with his party. It's only one. From all the mirage, all the retinue of political parties that ought to have contested with him fairly, all these people were shot out of the game. So even the timing and the shilly-shally attitude of the NEC, National Electoral Commission of Venezuela, is something that informed the opposition that this will not follow due process. I'm talking about the election properly. So once there is this cloud of uncertainty hovering around an election year, one will begin to suspect. So, and that is where international communities like the United States of America, UK, and EU will not come in. Mind you, that the election that was conducted May 20th last year in Venezuela did not even witness the observer from foreign land. They were prevented. From within, they weren't even allowed. All these are pointed to the fact that it was man and fraught with all irregularities. He who comes to equity should come with clean hands. If a country like Venezuela, which you and I, from all indication and records, has shown that their economy is fully free on a day-by-day basis, and we also saw during on election day that there were incidents of vote buying. People were induced with food
in Venezuela.
And there was this instruction by the government
infrastructure
president, quote and unquote, that if you vote, just scan it, present it, you get a job, you get food. Because he wants to know those who voted for him. In a society like that, what do you think of the common man? So that is the reason why in Africa we must plead, because the action that Guaido has taken, I'm not even sure that it has a full interpretation in law. That you have assumed the position of acting president would have been possible if the president has died. The vice has also died.
So from what Guaido did, it was wrong.
It's wrong.
Okay, so we will come back to that. Now let's take a look at the military. In course of showing those clips to you, get to see some armed men shooting tear gas, dispersing the crowd. If the PD could just help us out with that clip. Yes, thank you. Now, the military seems to be at the middle of all this. People are waiting to see the side the military will tilt towards. Do you see them maintaining status quo? Or saying, Maduro, enough is enough. Get out of here.
Thank you again, Winston. You see, the military everywhere in the world has two main duty: to keep the country from internal commotion and then external aggression. Today in Venezuela, the military is part and parcel of the government. In fact, apart from Maduro himself, most of the ministers, they are military officers. So if there is any problem, if there is corruption, if the system is not working, if there is hunger today, the military has its own share of the problem. So, but so far, they have been kept in order. They have surprised everyone despite great provocation. We saw John Bolton yesterday. We saw that is the writing on his foot. This thing.
Yeah.
He said 5,000 soldiers to Colombia. Colombia, they want to enter Venezuela. So it's a kind of provocation that we are ready to come. That unlike Afghanistan, this is not sand and blood. We have oil here. And my friend, that is what is happening. It is the America, their interest. So I get very uncomfortable when we talk about democracy, when they talk about elections being rigged, when they talk about things not being properly done, for crying out loud. We have somebody sitting today in Washington who got there only with the active connivance of the Russians, who got there by doing things that are unconstitutional, by doing things that bent or twisted the law to its breaking point. So don't tell me that issue about human rights, about free and fair elections, when you got to where you are today through the back door. That's for that. When you go elsewhere, when you, like I said before, when you are hobnobbing with people who he has never gone, let's say, to Saudi Arabia and say something about democracy, say something about human rights. The Americans, they don't do it because it doesn't suit their interest to talk about democracy when they get to Saudi Arabia, or talk about human rights, or talk about election. Have you ever heard about election in Saudi Arabia, for crying out loud? And the United States is supposed to be the defender of democracy in the world. So what are you telling me? Okay. Someone with imperfect election is far better than someone without elections. That election is an anathema there. Don't even talk about it. Or you have someone who is trying and making mistakes and making error and rigging it, if you want to say they are rigging it. But of course, there's a semblance of democracy going up there. So what are you now telling me? So we must understand that today in Venezuela, the military is doing all they can, trying not to go overboard, trying not to worsen an already very dicey situation. That is what is happening today. But then at the end of the day, we have to choose side. Things cannot continue to be like this. We cannot have two captains in one ship. They have to come to the negotiating table to end this imbroglio, to end this dynamo that has engulfed the oil-rich state of Venezuela today. So many things need to be, and this thing has to be domestic. That's what China is saying. That's what Russia is saying. And for God's sake, have you heard about China or Russia having colonies in those days? They have always been contented with where they are. So it is the United States and the West that have this imperialistic motive. They have always wanted to dominate others, to show them this is the way that we are better than you. This is the way it should be done. When democracy is good for them, they will say yes, democracy is the best. But when it's not too good for them, you see that they won't say anything. That's the big time hypocrites that they have. So nobody should tell me about this stuff that they are banding around to Maduro. Yet, I have said it, Maduro has his faults. He has an opportunity to make things happen. That's what Hugo Chavez did. Hugo Chavez was able to transmute Venezuela from where they are and to bring the wealth of Venezuela to the average Venezuelan. That's why they still have affection for him today. But this guy came and he messed everything up. Right. So that's the issue today. But we just hope and pray that it doesn't escalate more than it has done today. For the sake of the Venezuelan people, let them find a way out of this issue. If they leave it to Trump, it's not. They don't know help. They will complicate issues, and they will make things worse.
Okay.
So they have to find the solution by themselves.
All right.
They don't think about that the US cares so much, that they love democracy so much. If they love democracy so much, they would have talked about they would have told the Saudi prince to democratize. So It's not about democracy. It's not about the rule of law. It's not about the electoral process. It is something deeper. It's about Venezuelan oil.
Venezuelan oil, according to Barrister Osaho Osazua, while Honorable Desmond Ugbo is talking about democracy, the electoral process, and good governance for the military right now. Yes, they are trying to maintain law and order, like Honorable rightly talked about. He talked about more than 3 million persons leaving Venezuela to other countries because of the hardship in that country. No food, very, very expensive, bad economy. Coupled with the fact that USA, just of recent, was it 2 days ago, sanctioned Venezuela oil firm. Are they trying to escalate the situation or bring solution to the country?
About 90% of Venezuela oil, of the 90%, 40% is exported to the United States of America. I'm not sure if they stop the exportation of such percentage of oil to the United States of America, that it will affect the Venezuela. But that is not a solution. We talked about the military, whether if they are supportive of Maduro or they are otherwise. Let me tell you this, that about 3 weeks ago, about 36,000 military officers has been promoted. salaries of this military personnel has increased repeatedly. All these are built up to have loyalists that will support Maduro in this very current administration. Yes, it was on the 10th of January that he was sworn in for another 6 years term, second term to be precise. And that today, the military are not saying anything. And even the leaders of the socialists who boasted that the government is in order and there is no opposition as such as it's seen from our side. He just mentioned that a lot of these military men, many of them are ministers in this current government. It is true.
Even the oil company is headed by
the man deliberately did it to make sure that he has a lot of people who are supportive of his government, whether right or wrong, who will bear the cat now. Now the cat is providing food for all the mouths. So that is where the problem lies. What we will call policy somersault.
Policy somersault
Has been the order of the day. Originally, when he assumed power, he promised a lot of things. He started at the beginning only to be, I don't know what happened. He started now doing another thing just to replicate his mentor. You know, you need to improve on your predecessor. Taking from the right, taking from the little from the right, from the left, to balance the equation. Because the idea of you representing the people is to carry out those things that they wish to happen in their life. When you are doing things contrary to the yearnings and aspirations of the people, you are your own. So Maduro has done certain things that made the people to say, no, we don't want you. But how would they say it? They have been oppressed. There is this intimidation during the election by the police and the military. There is this vote buying. There is this all forms of irregularities, just to mention a few. Today, we have Venezuela divided. Those who are protesting has been empowered, has been encouraged, has been told by Juan Guaido to continue to press home their demand until Venezuela is liberated. How will it be liberated? The man doesn't have that substantial and potential power to hold on to that seat of presidency to say, yes, I am the legitimate president. But US went ahead to recognize Juan as the legitimate president of Venezuela to the US and Donald Trump. Thinking or talking without thinking is like shooting without aiming.
Amen.
Because you have one of these flair for Venezuela here, it's not enough for you to be clouded with your sense of reasoning to just jump into a conclusion to say Venezuela acting president, you are the legitimate. Just like I acknowledge Jerusalem as the capital of
Israel.
So these are certain things that we must look at.
Our time.
For me, finally.
Yeah, because our time is up.
Yes. Finally, I want to appeal to Maduro to do everything humanly possible to appeal to all dissenting voices and reorganize the National Electoral Commission. I am sure it shouldn't contest.
Thank you.
But secondly,
for
Guaido, he should resign and relinquish that position and face his legislative business.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. I know you have one or two words to say, but our time is up. We're already eating into another time, so please just bear with us for today. But thank you for your wonderful analysis. Well, the game is on. Two presidents in one country, legitimate and a little bit illegitimate. What do you think will happen in Venezuela? From all of us here, it's bye for now.